Morning, Zara.
Good morning. I haven't changed the background yet.
Hello, everyone.
Hey,
I also got an update in Zoom. It looks similar to Jamie.
okay, so it just happened at that time, huh? That was so bad of like everything technical just went wrong.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. But anyway, it worked out well.
Well, I can get used to it. I just didn't have time to absorb it then.
Yeah.
So I didn't hear from Narsima, so I don't know. Yeah. But we have not dealt with the heterogeneity thing yet, so I think we should. If they don't have anything else. Like, I think we really want to start digging into the like the sampling questions. I can share now. I don't know what happened yesterday.
So after I update the Zoom, it asked for me the main password for the Mac OS system.
For the
So
what?
I have a login password, system password. It asked for me to access other permission, something like that. I'm not sure if that happened. But yeah, I needed to restart my laptop and then it sure.
Oh, it need the admin password. Yes, you weren't on the admin user.
Yeah. Anyway, it happened at the first time.
Oh, that's the problem with my engineering laptop, the laptop for the department, for the group. It needs always the admin password for updating.
Yeah.
Do you not have that problem, Raidul? Is your laptop yours? Or is it?
No, I have one from you. So, but I didn't run into critical situation like that. So,
I really don't know why they have that rule. I sort of understand the need for security, but it's
yeah,
kind of ridiculous.
yeah.
It
I would
shouldn't.
go ahead.
Oh, Tammy, you go ahead. You were talking.
No, I've been able to get one person to get an admin password, but I had to go through a lot of hoops.
Oh, okay, okay.
Like I had to fill out a form saying why it was really important, and they don't accept it for just anything.
That admin password shouldn't be applied to the application they installed on the computer, because even for updates for those application, it needs admin password. They installed that application.
Yeah, that it's just, it's ridiculous.
I just use all the web versions of the applications, even Word.
Yeah, that's fair. So you use Zoom on the web?
I use the browser one. I open it through
Yep,
the
yep,
browser.
yep. Yeah, I had this, it was even worse at my former institution, like they would password your BIOS, so you couldn't do a lot of things. And I just gave up. I just buy my own computers. Cause it's just not worth that trouble. Anyway, if the others are not here, Raidul, why don't we talk about, I think the sampling and the connection to ResStock, is that worked out yet?
I have some points to discuss. Initially, I wanted to discuss during our in-person meeting, but it works for me. Just 1 minute. So,
Hey, Kartik's here.
hello,
Sorry,
Kar.
guys. Yeah, I was looking at my emails and lost track of time.
So, I worked on the ABM model a fair bit and is able to take up different CSV file, the current cluster-based CSV file that Zara and Karthik is producing. And the current heterogeneity, the level of heterogeneity the ABM model takes into account is, okay, the CSV file has the only Colorado population, and then the slicing based on Puma and the building type. That's the current level of heterogeneity I am using. But what I was envisioning to do, and it's my plan, I think it will get matured based on input from others. So the building, Colorado, then the slicing gets by Puma, then the building type, and now we have different 9 cluster. So whatever like energy demand or equipment age distribution, whatever model variable we want to get as an input, it will be taken as a distribution curve based on different cluster, something like that.
Cluster is what?
Heating type cluster, like.
Okay.
So like, for example, Tammy, remember that when I was showing you the equipment age, I focused on the frequency, like, okay, the equipment is 27. So what is the probability of that 27 equipment age will be present across the population? But what I'm trying to do now that, okay, what is the equipment age distribution depending on this specific cluster or heating cluster. So then it will produce a distribution curve, and the ABM will read off, okay, given this specific characteristics, take an input from this distribution curve, something like that.
Okay, well, let's do this one step at a time. I can see all these different dimensions. I'm glad you're here, Kartik, because I know that you've produced some data. I have not had a minute to look at it, but now we can start thinking about that.
Mhm.
So, Rachel, I think we need some, this is a building block, but we need some clarity in this. you want to settle down on the following level of heterogeneity, and then you say, for example, well, that's not an example. But let's just. Kartik, when you. So many messages from everybody now.
Oh, I can pull off Kartik class.
Kartik's, well, it's proposed clustering. Okay, I've created the clusters. No, that's old. Then there's another one.
You could
He-
pull my email or
Clustering
the
heating
Dropbox
type. There we
folder.
go. 5 clusters. This is the one, right? Okay, use this file to request. Variable cluster comment. So this is, we started talking about this and then we got hit with a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we haven't worked all the way through it. Raidul,
Correct.
is this what you were talking about? Cause
No, this is Kartik's.
I
says-
know, but they've got to be the same, right?
Yeah.
Okay. State 1, Puma 10. Why is it Puma 10?
That's just the convention. That's just the variable name because it's based off the 2010.
That's what I'm wondering. I thought we were doing
Census.
2020. Are we not doing 2020?
So the classification is based off 2010 because 2019 is where the data set is currently at.
Okay.
So all the geographic state level boundaries, everything is based off the 2010 census. So that's why it's Puma 10.
Okay. Okay, so then proportion. Okay, level is, those are the building clusters.
Mm-hmm. So it's the one that we talked about a few weeks ago.
Okay. And then the clusters are the heating type clusters. Yes, I see that. Okay. Okay. Now, what I'm seeing is that in the building clusters, they're adding up to 1.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm wondering now is what if there's correlation between them? Like what if between like the building clusters and
the
like a certain, let's say the building cluster B has a whole lot of heating type cluster A, which is going to happen.
There's 2 ways to get to that. So one is the heat map. So that's in the other folders. I've updated the heat map with these new clusters. So you could take a look at that. And the second way to get to it directly is create a cross product variable, which would give us within building A, what's the distribution of the heating type. So you can do both of those approaches.
And then this is what you were saying, that when you do the cross product, the error is going to go up because you have fewer samples, right?
Correct.
Okay, so Raidul, this isn't exactly what you were talking about, but going back to what you were showing.
Is similar, I would say, but mine is more on the assumption side that, okay, this is somewhat level of granularity or heterogeneity we can settle down, something like that. I didn't take into consideration of okay, what is the heat map is correlating or providing correlation value, something like that.
So Ryan, another way to think about it is, so we have the heat types and you're saying you could assume an age distribution for each heat type cluster. And
Yeah.
we can't get to that directly because we have the age clusters and we have the heating type cluster. So we just do a cross product of that, and you would get an age distribution for each heat type cluster from the data itself. You don't have to make any assumptions about that.
We have the age distribution from TAMIS simulation.
Is that an assumed distribution or?
It's an assumed distribution based on, I just initiate, I assume a retirement curve,
Okay,
and then I just run it to, I start them when the house was built, and then I just run it. And so that it ends up with, it's based on assumptions, yes. I would like it to be better.
so yeah, so we could get it off directly from the data, or a combination of, we could get the year built from here and then impose your retirement curves on top of that. I mean, I think it's up to you to decide which way you want to go.
So I think it's maybe going to be a combination. Yeah, I see. If you were to do a cross product,
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, so my crazy stupid idea is like, I would want a cross product of all of these, but that would be,
Mm-hmm.
so you'd have a Y1, Y2 kind of thing.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Is that really hard for you?
Oh, it's fairly easy. I mean, you could do that like live, even if you want to just take a look at what
Really?
happens.
Because then I
Yeah.
would just say, Raidul, you should sample according to the proportion.
Mm,
In, like, if you're in a Puma, your agent-based model should sample according to the proportion, right?
yeah.
And so then that's how you get that heterogeneity. Now, and then you said building energy is not a dimension in here, and I agree that you're getting from Zara.
Mhm. Yeah, I get it.
So I was wondering if I should implement that clustering based on the housing type or not in my output. It's required.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be helpful. I think it'll be helpful if we're all running on the same assumption. Although you have the ability to see whether buildings that are assigned to a particular cluster are behaving very differently, right?
Perhaps, yes, because I check the energy demands and energy use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you could see the energy demand, and if you saw that the clustering was not working very well, like you had you had a wide range that couldn't be explained, then we could revisit it.
That's a good idea, yes. I was doing that clustering in past weeks, but it's not completed yet.
Kartik, I will need another help from you.
Mm-hmm.
So let me share the way the current ABM reads of the CSV file, and forget about the heterogeneity, but the way is that there is 7,000 or something like rows in here, and the ABM read each of row and take that as an input for one household, something like that. So
Okay. Mm-hmm.
so everything is okay, but this is the Puma ID, right? You initiate. I'm not sure if Tammy used or you provided, but
I had to use it. Kartik uses it. I combined it with state number.
Yeah, I think
Just
that's,
use.
yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, you just paste the state and Puma columns together and you'll get a unique ID.
Yeah, so then in this is my attempt to create a cross product, but I did not consider any correlations. Hey, Narasimha.
Hi. Sorry I'm late.
You okay?
Yeah, had a parking ticket and argument.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry.
So you're looking at data that Zara developed?
No, we're looking at the heterogeneity at the base. So Kartik on the left, Kartik stuff on the right. Don't look at that because that's just old stuff that I manipulated from Kartik.
yeah, but from Tammy and Kartik, like at the end of the day, I understand what Kartik is trying to do, the proportion and the heterogeneity will be distributed based on that proportion. But at the end of the day, I also need a combination of both of these CSP. Like, okay, there should be another column with building type, heating type, something, income.
Right. So that's, I think that's what Kartik is talking about, the cross product. Right. So here he has building cluster, and that's in fact what he gave me. Building cluster and then heating, or not building and then heating. And I just ran a stupid program to create a cross product, assuming no correlations, which is a mistake. So I think what he's saying is he could produce something that's a little more like this, but we may not want to include every cross product, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, now I'm embarrassed for you to see. I just expanded them so that we could have that product.
How do you create cross product, Kartik? I mean, we don't know the cross product really. Well, we have it actually at the household level.
So that's how you just summarize that to the Puma level, right? So you create clusters or cross products at the household level, and then you just summarize that at the Puma level. And the way we are trying to make these cross products is to get rid of that correlation. So you want to make clusters that capture, all these closely related variables, and then summarize that cluster.
Yeah, you got to look at your margins of error though, because
Why don't we
But
just
it's-
run it and see what the margins of error are?
yeah.
Because I think also though, if we have a huge margin of error, that tells us something too, like we don't actually know that, right?
Yeah. Or conversely, if we have a low margin of error, that's actually a good thing. Yeah.
Well, we need to know what cross products are, right? Because there's so many combinations. So I think
Yeah. We would want to the ones that matter most for energy performance, right? I mean, Tammy, this is for your building object, right?
Mm-hmm. So that's what I was saying, is that once we get the cross products, then Zara should sample everything that is related, or that is aligned with that group of things from ResStock, and then we should see how much they vary. And I think, as you mentioned, you don't see a big change or a big explanatory power of building age, but I think we can delve into the reasons for that.
I mean, again, you can look in the ResTalk data how powerful age is as an explanatory variable.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, she did.
And what did she find?
Did-
Zara?
I have no concrete answer for that yet.
Okay.
Because I
But you did-
sampled only
Yeah.
1 or 2 Puma as a comparison.
Oh,
This,
okay.
yeah, but this is where, like, I mentioned this to Paul and he's like, oh yeah, I know why that is. So we should just go talk to him.
Why is it that there's not a strong correlation with age? Well, I mean,
Because there's some variables that we're not considering that create the correlation, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, let's not, I think that's weeds right now. Zara and I are kind of pursuing 2 tracks, right? Like one of them is get the linking going. And the other one in parallel is let's work on explaining the variability. But we don't want to hold up the pursuit of completing the model while we explain the variability. Does that sound right, Zara?
Yes, we consider some assumptions to be checked later and see what's happening.
but it's a big design question as to how you cluster households.
Yeah, we'll iterate.
Yeah.
I agree. We have a preliminary design that will be challenged in fall.
I mean, even to me, the size of the house is a really big factor, it's
Mhm.
because energy consumption scales more than linearly potentially. So if there's a strong, yeah, I mean, have we even looked at the distribution of floor space? I mean, that would be an
Sure.
interesting thing to cluster as well and to bin them.
So yeah, Zara, why don't you explain how you're doing that?
About size, if I get it correctly,
Yeah.
I just correlate, I just check the size and see what's the energy demands or energy usage per square feet. Like I did just this calculation, but I haven't checked anything about that yet.
No, but no, I think you're doing better than that because you're sampling within a range for the square footage that's put in. And then taking energy use per square foot and then scaling that to whatever building it actually is, if that makes sense. Isn't that right?
Let me see. I get a user area, just a user defined area. We don't know actually that it directly match with RESTAG or not. So we sample a matching property, other criteria that user defined, like size, like age and other things, and we averaging that and like somehow calculate the energy demand and use based on the user defined size. So we somehow project if a user has a house like 600 square feet, what would happen comparing the historical data that's available in terms of energy demand and energy use. If that makes sense, I don't know.
Do you have the way I was thinking this was going, you're clustering households into groups, distinct groups, mainly for the purpose of differentiating adoption decision criteria. Like you're buffering whatever payback cost or maybe some other thing. Because otherwise, why don't you have infinite number of household groups? We're differentiating based on adoption behavior, and then for each group or cluster, you'll have a distribution of operating costs for the building object for that cluster. And that distribution could depend on a number of parameters, including age, including floor space, and building efficiency or shell or something, which you can get from RESTOC. right? So is that so? Because you're sampling from a distribution from ResTalk, so you get a distribution of operating costs for each cluster, right? What's constraining that distribution is only the cluster, your hard constraint would be whatever your cluster definition is.
Yeah, I think this is going to be, we shouldn't do this now, but I think this will be able to be explained better if we put it on the murals board, like as a flow chart. Because I think there's some really nitty gritty stuff that we're going to keep talking through, and we should just start making that explicit. So, okay, back to the, can we go back to the Rydul's data and what Kartik needs? Because I think it's like Kartik or vice versa. What Kartik produces something with some cross product, not infinite cross product, and then Rydul samples from it, right? And that represents a certain number of households. And I think one of the things Rydul and I have to work out is, do you create more agents if that line is representing more households? But I think that's a really important question, but you guys don't have to deal with that. But among us, the heterogeneity has to be dealt with. So Rydul
Yeah,
makes
Mhm.
sample, gives the question to Zara's model, like how much energy does this use and what are the alternatives?
Yeah, and I think what I would need to know is, what those cross products are so that I can, send the data back to you. And
And you sent a dictionary, yeah?
yeah, everything's in there. Everything you need is in there.
Everything we need. Dictionary file. So, okay, in other work, you've given variables like average and margin of error for different variables, like for example, income. So that's possible to request.
So those are also in there. So as long as you just give me yes and no for like you did previously, I can return all of that back to you.
Yeah, and I think we had some kind of coding, right? Like the slicing, the value, and
Yeah, all of that exists in like on my back end. So
okay, awesome. That's exciting. God, I keep feeling like we're really close. Rachel, is this something you can work with, or do you see places where it needs to be updated?
I think it works.
And you somewhere, Kartik, have definitions of what these, maybe probably even in your Dropbox.
correct, there's the thing that says cluster documentation. So
Ah, look at that. Nice. What language do you work in?
All right.
English, oh, R.
Okay. So I think we should just do this, like get this back to you. It sounds like it's worth a whole day on modeling, like among the modelers just to talk about the building object, because I feel like there's a lot of complexity to it and then people keep asking questions and then I feel like, no, we can't do that now, but it sounds like everybody needs to know that. What do you think of that?
I think yeah, I think that'd be useful because if you have, a larger chunk of time, I can just run stuff live and then, it'd probably be more productive than this. So yeah.
Hmm. Well, I was thinking the building object too, so would be a separate day. Hey, Christina.
Hi, sorry, it wasn't clear to me that we have a meeting today.
Yeah, I don't send out announcements. Sometimes Narasimha does. We should have someone assigned to send out announcements.
No, I'm the one who's supposed to do it. I just thought after the big crunch, we were not going to meet. But I should have written.
I was eager to get back to actual work. It's like so much reporting. Well, we've got like 20 minutes left. Oh, I want to talk about the day, and I sent out a message. I don't want to take our group time to talk about it, but please answer that message because it would be great to have Shang Wei on here. And also this,
So I wrote to him to find out.
okay,
Let's decide a time now. Yeah, thanks for reminding me. So
okay.
give me a second. He said,
This has gotten to be a bad time for me because I have a 3-hour block with my REU students right after this, and that means I have to go to the store before this and get them breakfast.
yeah, I mean, I'm on travel a lot this summer, but whatever. I mean, so noon to me, and
Oh,
Shangli
hey,
says, one second, let me just,
oh, but your noon.
my noon, ET noon.
It won't be
Tuesday,
possible on
Wednesday,
Tuesday.
Thursday.
I
Tuesday.
I can't do it. So my Tuesday is fully booked after
So
this.
Wednesday, Thursday?
Wednesday is better. And Thursday I don't like because that's my only day when I reserve the morning for working.
Okay.
But that's me.
So Wednesday, is that okay? Midweek at noon?
That'd be 10 for us.
And I think we don't all have to necessarily meet together. I mean, if the discussions are in the weeds for what Zara is doing with Karthik's data, and if I want to talk to Christina about her paper, maybe we can use that time, but we could perhaps not meet all together. We can decide. So
So I think until we get the modeling actually running, I think we should have a time to meet all together and people can decide to drop off. Because I feel like, yeah, we don't need to meet all together, but we're not, there's so much to discuss that we're not discussing it all.
I mean, we can decide beforehand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that Google Sheet that you have, we can actually now try and populate it. So I mean, partly this depends upon those who are leading the modeling work. So, Shang Wei's work, I think it'll be useful to present it. I don't think it's useful discussing the weeds of it with this broader group. Christina, it's up to you if you really want to share what the new results or if we're just kind of brainstorming, so maybe week by week. I guess what would be useful if, Raidul, Tammy, Zara, Christina, and Shang Wei can let us know, I want to present something, I want to ask questions to the whole group. That way we know if there's a reason for us all to meet at that time.
Yep. Okay. Okay. So Kartik, sorry, are we done with that? Because I thought Kartik said, let's just do the spreadsheet now. I wonder if we just do the spreadsheet now, yeah?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say tentatively noon on Wednesdays and then take it from there week by week.
Okay, I can reserve that. I can't do it next week because I already have something scheduled, but after that I can reserve it.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, go ahead, Karthik.
Wait, what did I say? I didn't say anything.
Well, I thought you said, let's just fill in the spreadsheet now or at one of the meetings instead of just talking about what it is. Like, were you talking
Oh,
about the dictionary? Maybe I misinterpreted you.
yeah, no, what I meant was like once you decide on what the cross products are, then I could run them live to see if, how the errors are looking and all of that and sort of give you instant feedback. And then we
Can we
can,
just open the thing now and fill it in and then get the feedback? Just like a trial run.
we could
I like your
try.
idea.
We could try. Let's see. So the way I want to do this is, yeah, so this is the updated heat map with all the clusters that we talked about, a few weeks ago. And so right now, for example, if you were to pick a cross product of, let's say, owners versus size of the house, there seems to be a correlation here, which is this blue block here. I could just run that and show you what the other bars look like and things like that. Or like whatever combination of cross product you pick from this map.
So I think the point here is that if there's a high correlation, then you really want to have a cross product
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise it would get that correlation would get squashed.
Mm-hmm.
You want a cross product for the two variables that have a high correlation? Is that what you mean, Tammy? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, because if they don't have any correlation, then it's okay to just represent them as that other variable is equally distributed across. Then you don't run in.
If they're highly correlated, then is it that not that you need only one of them to represent whatever it is they represent?
Well, there's that too, yeah. So then there's the question of shouldn't they just be in the same cluster?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I go back to asking what's the main criteria you want to use to determine clusters? Is it driven by the key variance, the key drivers of variability in operating costs or energy costs, or is it factors that are influencing differences in adoption decisions?
I don't think it's energy costs, because I think that's just gonna, I mean,
Right, I agree. So
I don't think it's energy costs. I think it's adoption then. Yeah, nice.
yeah, so if it's adoption, I mean, I think we should be talking about, okay, what matters from our reviews, like Vaidul in the ABMs or, from my stuff. And then do we have the variables in this data set? If not, we can look at correlates or something close. I mean, to me, obviously income is one. That's obvious. The heating type would make a difference. And now maybe we're thinking about something about prior equipment, but I don't know how influential that is. Climate you have in any case. And then there's the factors that are not really going to be captured, such as awareness and inertia, things like that.
Yeah, I think we have to
Comfort,
be
prefer-
careful about relying too much on the reviews, given what you said about how nobody was really picking it up. So
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think,
yeah.
again, we should make this so it's easy to be redone
Yeah.
as we learn things,
Yeah.
which I think Kartik has. Okay,
And you want to start simple.
I will have to leave at 10 till I can leave you guys on, but because I have this like now professional development thing, I have to set up. It would be helpful if Aaliyah had not left me.
You interviewing for someone else?
I have someone who can start, but the university is taking 4 weeks to do background checks.
What? The CIA or something?
Right? It's like they could interview all their neighbors and dogs by that time. Yeah, so one of the other people who came out of that search is interested and I can bring her on quick, but I can't get her in yet. Anyway, that person could be buying donuts instead of me, but no.
So what if you start with income and equipment type for clusters?
Yeah. Okay. But I was thinking equipment by housing type is necessary because the different types of house have different equipment. So I think that was one of the reasons we did that bundling.
What does type of house mean? Like
We have this
multi-family?
housing,
Yeah, single attached, multi-family, big apartment complexes.
How well does rent owner break down between multi-family, single family?
You could see that here. So rent own is own rent, and that's the BLD. So there is significant, extremes here.
so the building cluster, so that's like people rent apartments kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could just make it two separate markets, two separate
Yeah.
considerations.
Oh, yeah.
Because your central four-stair kind of thing, is more of a single family house situation.
So, I mean, that's a question. If there's a really strong correlation, do we just make a cluster of owned apartments and rented apartments? And one of those clusters is going to be small and unimportant?
Well, I don't think either is small or unimportant, but one is much more difficult to deal with, which is the apartment buildings.
Well, no,
So-
I'm sorry, I wasn't clear. The owned, so you're going to have some apartments that are owned and not rented. Right? You're going to have a large majority of apartments that are rented. And I agree with you there that they're difficult to deal with. And so we don't have good decision rules.
Oh, I
But
see. So within them, yeah, right.
But the
Yes.
question is, how would you handle that in terms of representing the clustering?
Yeah. The assumption would be that you're neglecting the owned apartments and rented.
Yeah. So do we just make another little cluster that's like not very populated? And then it doesn't really matter if we know the decision rules, or how would you handle that?
We could take a look at the number and then decide.
But I think that's what you would do. You basically have 4 clusters, but 2 are really important. Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable thing to do.
And then income would go across all of them. But you'd have a preponderance of, there would be in particular parts of the income distribution more than others. Like rentals, most of the low income actually are renting. So you could simplify a lot. You could have low income rental and single family middle to high income. And they have different behaviors in terms of discount rates, how they treat costs. That would be a good way to start, I think.
So I think as we talk about this, we should like just have the dictionary open and show how it gets implemented in the dictionary.
Mm,
That'd be Kartik's dictionary.
right.
Because I think as people come up to speed, it'll be easy to revisit. You know, but
Yeah,
you
I
don't
think-
see,
No, I can do it. I'll just have, it'll be hard coded in because it's sort of, you know, like a custom definition. So yeah, I think once you give me the custom definition, I can hard code it. So if it's, yeah.
yeah, if it's a custom cluster, then we have to hard code it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're saying. Yeah, so that
Right.
does not come in the dictionary.
Yeah. I mean, the individual variables are in there already. So you'll have to tell me, I want to cluster this and this. And I can, you know, hard code it.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to go because all my students are coming in. And I need to get some hot water for them and stuff. I don't know, I'll figure this out, but I will leave you on so you can keep talking. Raidul, I'm making you the host. Okay. Okay, cool. See you later.
Bye. See you soon. While I want to have bilateral with Christina for just 2 seconds, so I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt your train of thought. Keep thinking along your whatever you're thinking. Christina, do you know if so? I'll be away starting June 22nd, but available starting July 10th, but in Europe. I'm wondering if you think we should meet before June 22nd or afterwards in July.
Yeah, so I'm away July 10th till the end of July.
Okay. So maybe you
Um,
could meet before June 22nd, just to,
Yeah, that would make
Yeah.
sense, yes.
yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then August would be good for me to meet a bit more regularly, probably. If
I'm
that's
fine in
okay.
August, except for 1 week, 11th to
Okay.
18th, I'm on vacation.
Yeah, yeah.
Besides that, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
fine.
Okay, so you let me know when between
Mhm.
now and June 22nd.
Yeah.
My schedule is quite flexible. Okay, then I'm going to go as well. Unless you have any use for me, I don't think so.
Yeah,
Okay.
Raidul, if you want to hang, yeah, sorry, Narasimha, go on.
Okay, bye.
All right. Yeah, Raidul, I was gonna say, yeah, there's like many ways you can think about
Yeah.
this slicing, because you could also create like very high definition clusters at the household level itself. We don't have to, like, for example, you could create a cluster of, you know, high income renter in an apartment, call that a group at the household level, and I could summarize that at the Puma level and give you the distribution. So it just depends on, yeah, how you're thinking about slicing and how that would go into your model. So
It's true. Yeah, I'll talk to Tammy and let you know what we decide on the clustering.
okay, yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I think we can go. We talk to you later.
Okay, yeah, all right, sounds good then.
Bye.
Okay.